2001 to order. Can we stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance and the main standing invocation, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing, please. Lord, please lead us on the right track tonight to make the right decisions, and just help us in our endeavors for the full meeting. Amen.
Amen. Amen. You're thinking the high-speed rail, huh? On the right track?
I guess so. Hope so. All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Parker?
Present. Present.
Martinez?
Present.
Santaglia?
Present.
Mayor Reed?
Present. Do we have any communications from staff? Nothing at this time. Okay. Items from the public, non-agenda items. While City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on a posted agenda unless it's determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Any non-agenda items? Items from a public agenda item. Oh, I'm sorry. How are you, Mr. Bird? Good.
My name is Ralph Bird. I live at 606 Wax Wing Lane, Newman, California, and I'm here as a follow-up on the fire hydrant issue. And
That's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, Mr. Bird.
on the agenda.
Yes.
So
So if that was my next thing. If you want to just go ahead and sit down, and then when it comes up, then if you have any comments to make before or after, why? But we do have it on there. Items from public agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on the matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor. In order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Public hearings, there are none. Consent calendar. Approval of warrants, approval of minutes of January 23rd, 2001 regular meeting and January 27th, 2001 joint special meeting. Item C, resolution receiving and accepting financial statement audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2000. And item D, adopt resolution number next, approving disadvantaged business enterprise program and establishing goals for the city of Newman. Do you have any comments or motion for the...
I move that we approve the consent calendar A, B, C, and D.
I would second that, Mr. Mayor, with discussion on consent calendar item number 8C.
You gotta pull item 8C.
I'd like to pull item 8C. I have a question regarding the audit.
Okay, Tom, would you like to rephrase your motion then?
So I'd like to approve the consent calendar A, B, and D with C pulled.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Consent calendar item 8C. Tim, do you have any?
Yeah, in the review of the audit, I just had one question in terms of, and if you would refer to page number 15. And you'll see where it says Note 2, Cash and Investments. where our funds are held with the Local Agency Investment Fund, LAIF, commonly known. Under that fund, do we know what type of return that we may get off of that at all? And that question may be directed to Margaret.
Yes, we do, yeah, we receive a regular report on that. Right now, I believe it's about at 6.5, is that correct, Margaret? Thank you.
Can I put mine in there?
Yeah, but we receive regular reports on the return on that.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Okay, can we have a motion on item 8C?
I move that we approve item 8C.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Adjourned to meet as Newman Redevelopment Agency. So a roll call?
Present.
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 Present. Item 9B, adopt resolution number next, receiving and accepting the Newman Redevelopment Agency audit for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2000, accepting the annual state controller's report, which is basically the same as the last one.
Required
Except
for
this
the
is-
redevelopment agency.
This is for the redevelopment agency.
It's the same.
So, can we have any action on this?
Actually, I would move that we accept as a resolution 9B, as redevelopment agency, a resolution receiving and accepting the Newman Redevelopment Agency audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2000, and accepting the annual state controller's report.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. I'll adjourn to the regular session again. Regular business, item 10A. Request from Darielle Rogers to consider denial of claim for damages.
Just quickly to report out of closed session that was held earlier. This item was discussed and it was agreed to pay the claim in full as submitted by Daryl Rogers. I talked to Ms. Rogers prior to the meeting, and if she has anything to say or in regard to this, she's welcome to at this time.
I would just like to say thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Just
Thank
for the
you.
record, that was unanimous.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was unanimous.
unanimous. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Item 10B. Receive report and recommendation regarding parking in 15-foot fire hydrant zone. Please.
I'll have
yeah, go ahead.
Chief Brady handle this, if he would, please.
Mr. Byrd, would you like to say something before this, or do you want to wait until Chief Brady
Probably best
gives
to
his
have him
report?
give his report
Okay,
first, and then
go
he
ahead.
can respond to it. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As you recall, at our council meeting on January 23rd, that we were, you were approached by Mr. Byrd regarding not being able to park at the front of his home. This was due to the fact that he has a fire hydrant that's within 22 feet of his driveway approach, which limited him being able to park pretty much anything besides a motorcycle to the front of his home. And the council actually asked us, the fire chief and I, to look into the matter and report back. Fire Chief Souza and I, on January 26th, went to Mr. Byrd's home, also reviewed some other areas that he had given me a list of, and looked at the situation, and also contacted various cities in Merced County and Stanislaus County, and to find out what was being done in those cities. And in the smaller cities, Justine, Patterson, and Waterford, they maintain the 15-foot distance, but do have a few exceptions within their city. Larger cities such as Modesto, Turlock, and Ceres have a process in which they review the fire hydrants' locations. It's It's reviewed by a traffic engineer, fire personnel, and public works. They told me this process is not used to any large extent, as this is usually ironed out. The placement of the fire hydrants is usually ironed out at the planning of the development, or each subdivision as it goes in. Basically, what it came down to is in looking at the situation was Mel Souza, our fire chief, looking at his needs for fire suppression and what room he would need for his trucks and hoses to be able to adequately service that area. And it was his recommendation that his staff needs the 15 feet. And so that is what the staff is recommending, that it be maintained at the 15-foot level.
Okay. I also drove by there and looked at this, and even if we reduced it to 10 feet, which I believe was the minimum, there still wouldn't be room to park a car there.
No, we were originally, when Mr. Bird and I talked, he was hoping that we might be able to reduce it down to about 3 feet, but
No,
the fire chief didn't feel that would be adequate at all.
Yeah.
Because he does have some large vehicles and would not be able to park a vehicle there. But there is parking on Eucalyptus and on the other side of the street across from his home, which he has utilized in the past.
Yeah. What was the disposition of the ticket that Mr. Bird's son received for that violation?
That was made a warning, and that was already been dispatched.
Thank you. I think we ought to have the planning commission look at these new subdivisions that are coming in and see that these things, if these things can be avoided on the next subdivisions that are in there. I saw several of these that were a problem, and fortunately, Mr. Bird and one other one I saw do have our corner lot, and they do have parking on the side. But
In both ends of Waxwing where he lives, there's one on Balsam and on Eucalyptus where Mr. Bird lives, so they both have a similar situation, and also on the Duckblind Circle. But if you look in the older section of town, basically the placement of the fire hydrants are like in between the driveway approaches and other areas where they are less intrusive on the community.
well, there was one down on farther down on Waxwing that was actually between the houses and a section of curb about this long, so there was no
Right.
problem there. And if they could do something like that, I think it would be.
The problem is once they're in,
Yeah, I know,
they're
but to
pretty
catch them
permanent.
before they do it.
Right. And that's what the other cities said, that's what they had done, is that was ironed out at the development stage of it.
Any other questions for Chief Brady?
Chief, I was just gonna ask, the 15 feet encompasses 7.5 feet to either side
No,
of the
it's
fire
15
hydrant?
feet from either side.
It's 15 feet from either
So
side
it's
of the fire hydrant?
a total of 30 feet.
Those are big trucks. Anything else? Thank you, Mike. Okay. Mr. Bird, did you make a comment now?
Again, my name is Ralph Bird. I live at 606 Waxwing Lane, Newman, California. I'd like to bring up the issue again on the fire hydrant that the chief was just talking about. And even in this city here, right down the street here, there are 2 fire hydrants at the end with a total of 10 feet marked red. A total of 10 feet. That's 5 on one side, 5 on the other side. For no reason, it's just there marked red. Nobody needs to park there. If I measured the length of my car and the length of from the fire hydrant to the driveway, and it's 22 feet like he stated. The length of the car is 16 to 17 feet. All I need is those few extra feet. If I could get like this here fire hydrant down here, down Kern, if I could get just like a 5-foot red spot, I could park in front of my house. Legally. There are some fire hydrants already parked with 5-foot limits on either side, 10-foot total.
Are those on Driscoll that you're speaking of outside the walls of the subdivisions, or are they actually on the streets in the subdivision?
I just thought I didn't have time. I just drove by there today.
No, what I
When
was
got off
thinking,
work, I
if,
just got this letter today of the recommendation or decision, whichever it is. And I didn't have much time to do anything.
what I was thinking, if it was on Driscoll itself, there's basically no houses on the one side. There's just the wall there, so you probably wouldn't get any cars parked there anyway.
Well, that was a waste of
But it's really the decision of our fire chief as to whether it would interfere in I guess he's going to have to take them one at a time and say this would interfere if I cut that amount down.
I can't see how it would interfere. I can't see it.
Unless anyone else has any comments?
Well, a question is, are there areas where there's less than 15 on either side of the fire hydrant?
Yes, there are. There are some areas in the city where, and we haven't had a chance to go back and research why that was done, but there are certain areas in the city that are marked with a red curb, and I don't know the exact, it's probably about 10 feet from the couple that I've seen. But we haven't researched as to why those were marked and why that was done. We haven't gotten back that far to find out when it was done and why yet. It may have been done when the subdivisions were put in, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Seems like we're not consistent in what we're doing.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to refer to a report here that says the problem is that the law provides that there shall be 15 feet in either direction from the fire hydrant and not require the curb to be painted red. So without the curb being painted red, the assertion that the chief has just given is a 30-foot radius, 15 feet on either side. However, the law does provide that a city can reduce the distance, but that the curb would have to be painted red to alert the public of the change of the required footage. So within those parameters of the law, it gives us some leeway to where we can have an assessment where council member just referred to the inconsistencies to where it can be looked upon, where some curves may necessitate being painted red in order to alert the public that this area you shall not park in.
But he's
Okay.
saying that some of them are only 5 feet, which is not legal at all.
There are some that
According
are
to the
shorter
law.
than that.
No,
There's some-
no, it is legal for them to be 5 feet, as long as they are painted red.
There's some that are only
I thought
3 feet.
Right.
they just said that it was
Even
10
less.
feet.
No.
No, I didn't give.
I don't think
I didn't
that-
give any parameters of far as what the footage would have to be. The law provides that the city can reduce the distance,
To
but
whatever
that the
length
curb
they
has
want
to
to
be
be. Right.
painted red to
Right.
alert the public.
Yeah, the difference is you can put it whatever size you want, but you have to maintain a red curb in that instance.
I think what we really need was Chief Sousa here tonight to
Again.
get on this too. Go ahead.
Okay. Again, I am writing to you to inquire about the necessary steps to be taken to petition to override the recommendations, decisions made by your staff in regards to residents with fire hydrants in front of their homes and the parking situation it entails. Attached is a copy of signatures of residents with the same or similar circumstances. Please contact me if you have any questions or need additional information. A fax can be sent, etc., etc. This is
Thank you.
Any other comments? What's your pleasure? Shall we refer this
Yes.
for more review, or?
No, I'm really concerned about the inconsistency. I mean, I think if we're going to apply the law to everyone, it should be applied the same. So it bothers me that we have some fire hydrants out there at 15 feet and some that are less. And
Well,
I just have a real problem with that.
I could see some of them where they're less than that if there's no houses around in that area particularly, like on Driscoll or whatever.
Well,
But I agree that there are inconsistent, and perhaps we should get out there and I'd hate to have a big red curb out in front of my house, but if that's what it takes, why we could do that and block it off. Cleve, have any?
Well, I was going to say, if you'd like, we can attempt to research and find why those distances were shortened up. I'm not aware that there is any information in talking to staff. Ernie, you have some information you want to provide on that?
Yes, quite some time ago, maybe about 6, 7 years ago, we had some students that came by. There was another group that wanted to do some community service. And so one of the things that came to mind was painting the hydrants and painting some of those zones. And they're the ones who paint them inconsistently, and they didn't know just how long they were supposed to be painted. And so I believe that that's why you ended up with some short zones and some long zones, and they were never corrected. But that's how they came to be. It wasn't because they went and measured the curbside and said, well, a car will fit here, or there's no danger of anybody, obstructing the fire department because there aren't any homes here. So that was part of the reason for those inconsistencies.
Well, I'd like to see it go back to staff and make a report and then have these corrected and make them all consistent.
I mean, go out and paint all of the...
Not all of them, just the ones that need to be painted, that you can go down to 10 feet, but you have to paint it. Or make them all 15 feet.
Well, I think you should have either all or none. So I know it's a big job, but
Well, perhaps what we need to do is bring back a policy to the council for consideration that would allow us to review these to make the distances smaller. And if the council says, yeah, we can review that, then we'll set up guidelines for circumstances in which that would happen. If the council does not want to adopt a policy like that, then it would may stay as is, and we will go out and review those areas where the curbs are painted red. I'm assuming, Chief, that if a curb were
You're perhaps
Well-
suggesting that is the case, because I'm looking at it from a perspective of it would be enforced through the police department. It's a code enforcement where the vehicle code would provide where you stipulate here. The law provides that the city can reduce the curb. That more than likely would be in the vehicle code book. The flexibility of what you first gave and what would be the pleasure of the council is more in tune of what I'm looking towards, because if we put it in a concession of all or none, 15 feet, or we're going to reduce to whatever measure that we use, it's going to be really restrictive, I think. And
I didn't mean particularly all of them 15 feet, because there will be some exceptions, I'm sure.
Right.
But either you paint all of the curbs, whether it's 10 feet, 15 feet, or whatever, or you don't paint
Paint
anything.
No,
any
you
at
don't
all.
have to, though.
Yeah. Pardon?
You don't have to.
I know you don't have to, but to avoid situations like
It'll
this,
be
I think
clear
we
if the
should.
curb is
It's
painted
clear.
red. I think it's part of the
I mean, legally we
suggestion
don't
they
have to, no, but I think to make it clear to everyone.
What I was trying to say is I look at it as similar to the situation if we want to put in a stop sign. We cannot, the police chief cannot go out and do that. It takes an action by the city council, and I think that this falls under that same category.
Okay.
In order for us to say, we're going to make an exception to the normal rule, which is the 15-foot rule on either side of a fire hydrant, in order for us to do that, is what I'm saying, is the council would have to take action. Now, that's not to say that the council could not establish a policy which said if a fire hydrant in front of a home meets this and this and this and this and this guideline, then it automatically receives that.
That
But
would
then
give
you
us some
then you
flexibility.
still have that legislative action.
Okay.
But probably what would come back would be something where it would be reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
And that's what, some semblance of that is what I was looking for.
Sure.
Whereas when you started speaking of it being stated in a policy fashion, that would give us some actual flexibility.
Would give you the flexibility the policy would, but it would still, like I say, it needs to be set up by the city council.
In order to be enacted.
and
Thank
approved.
you.
Right.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, can you do that, or you need a motion to do that, or?
I think that we should have a motion to direct staff to review that and bring back a policy for review by the council and give you the option to set that up. The other issue that we would probably have to do, and my recommendation is enforcement of this in the interim, and my recommendation is that we continue to enforce the 15 feet until that policy is brought back.
So move. I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Actually,
You can say anything.
I abstained from that, but,
You abstain?
yes,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
We're going to bypass item 8C, I believe, right now.
Till we get closer to 8
Closer
o'clock.
to 8 o'clock, yeah. Item 10D, adopt resolution number next, approving class specification for the city of Newman.
Attached, what brought this up is we were preparing the job descriptions for two positions that the council approved at your last meeting. One is the management assistant position and the police office assistant position. And so we prepared those job description, and we also realized that we actually never had gone through the formal process of having the new job descriptions that were established some time back actually adopted. And so I'm bringing these to the council for adoption at this time.
Any questions?
No, there's just a few things I noticed through here. Some of them say who they're responsible to, and others don't say it at all. Like Public Works, it doesn't say that he's responsible to you, which it should be. And there's some more in there like
The
that.
director. Yeah, most of them should say that. There may be
There's
some
about three of them.
areas that need correcting in those areas. We've been actually working on these for quite some time, trying to get them consistent.
Right,
But what I finally did, I realized that there may be some minor errors in these still, but I felt that it was important to get these adopted, so I'm bringing them to you with the realization that this will be a working document that we will come back and recommend changes from time to time to you.
And additionally, with all of these job assignments and essential duties as stated, fall in the parameters of your managerial position as a city manager, correct?
I think you did a good job on it.
Well, the part of this was done also, there was quite a bit that had to be done on top of it, but you recall that this was done by a consultant that we had about 1.5 years ago, did a portion of it, and then our staff put the rest of it together.
Well, I move that we adopt resolution next number adopting class specifications for city of Newman employees. Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 5-0. Item 10E, consider request from council members to attend Planners Institute in March 2001.
Mayor and council, this item was brought to you. Council member Parker came to me and he had mentioned this, I believe, at the last meeting, that he would like to attend this conference. And I felt it was appropriate to put this on the agenda, to bring it to the attention of the council, not that you're watching over Councilmember Parker to see what he's attending, but because of the budget amount that was in the budget for this year, and also to kind of get an understanding of what we expect as far as council members attending different conferences. My personal position is I encourage, whatever ones we can afford and can get to. I think all of these training sessions are good to attend, and I recommend any of them. But I wanted to bring this up For your information, and I believe I've got these numbers right. Help me out, Margaret, please, if I don't. We budgeted $5,000 at the beginning of the year. We've adjusted that to $8,000 to accommodate some additional sessions that were attended in January, and that was the new mayor and council members conferences that some of you went to. It's anticipated that the cost to attend this conference will be at least $600 per member, maybe a little bit more than that to who want to attend. So that amount would need to be increased even more to accommodate that. And then what my recommendation is that we will come up with some recommendations and some things that we'll establish in this coming year's budget, whether it be some suggestions that I heard is perhaps that we say, okay, you can attend, council members agree to attend the general conference in October plus one more or something like that, or we put a fixed dollar amount per council member, something to that to attend these, and we can base those on the cost of 2 conferences or 3 or whatever is the pleasure of the council. But that item probably should actually be handled as part of the coming year budget when we get to that. However, I wanted to just make sure that the council was aware of this, and we're in agreement that any council members that wanted to could attend this upcoming conference. And there may be others that will come up before year's end. There are other conferences. The only other one I'm aware of, I believe, occurs not in this year, but it occurs in July, and that's the Mayors and Council Members Institute, I believe
The
it's called.
executive mayors and council members in Monterey in
Right.
July, and then there's the annual in September in Sacramento,
Right.
October.
October, yeah.
Those are the 2 main ones that are
And
left.
if I could ask the mayor, the one that we went to in Sacramento in January, for that Tim and I and John attended. Well, first of all, I got a lot out of that. There's a lot of things I didn't
It's
know.
probably the best one.
Right, but I understand that's only every other year.
Every other year,
Right.
yes.
So like next year, we don't. I'd like to attend 2, which would
Yeah.
be the executive and the annual.
Yeah, the one in July is probably the second best.
Yeah, we've already set the program
And
for
there's
that.
also an economic development conference, I believe, about the same time. I think it coincides.
They're going to
coincide with
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to coincide.
And so that would be a double thing that you'd actually attend as one. I think all of them are worthwhile, and if we were a large city, I think that it'd behoove everyone to go. But as far as the Planning Commission conference in March, I believe we have, how many new Planning Commission? We have one, how many more
Well, we've got just the one right now
that have never been there?
that are, but they are all signed up to go,
Okay.
with the exception of the one member. I guess I can report this now. We do have one vacancy again there now. Mr. Larry Gilbert has submitted his resignation. So,
Then I think it's more important that the Planning Commissioners go to this particular conference. And I agree that the annual conference, you probably don't learn that much, but it's a really good chance to network
It's good
with other
networking.
people, and it's well worthwhile. And the one in July, and of course the one every other year in January, which is for all new members. So I don't know. I just think that we could probably do the annual and one other one, whichever one you may choose. I think if we were a large city, we could do them all, but we have limited funds. I don't think we should do that. So anybody else have any comments on this? Or?
Well, I just wanted to say one thing, that we have a commitment to these residents of this community to do the best we can for that community. But if we don't have the knowledge and can't go to these conferences, then it's a detriment to the community. We can't do the job that we're committed to do.
I'd just like to say, Dave, that I had also showed interest in going to this conference only because I didn't come through the Planning Commission, to the council. I wanted to go to that and, learn all I could on that end of the deal.
Okay. Bob, you have any?
Well, I think your suggestion was a good one. I think that if we attend 2 a year, that seems to be something that the budget can probably handle. Margaret could live with.
And one thing is, if more than one council member attends each one, I think that they should get together and make sure they don't go to the same sessions. They should divide up the sessions so that everyone can share the knowledge that they've learned. So, anyone else have any comments? What do you think about this? What do you?
Well, could we
Wanna
prepare a
make your
list?
motions? You want to?
Well, yeah, but could we prepare a list of the possibilities, what sessions we could attend? And then
I think that was part of the suggestion that Cleve
Take a look
alluded
at
to on the onset.
Yeah, I didn't bring that.
That would be
with me.
done, that what I was,
have it at home somewhere.
yeah,
Would you just
something like
clarify
that could be done as part of the budget process,
It's part of our
is what I was
budgetary process,
recommending, and then,
which ends the fiscal year at the end of June, I believe.
yeah, so we would be going through that process. So we bring the budget to you for adoption in June, mid-June. And we'll be collecting information, et cetera, between now and then to put into the budget, so.
Can we have some direction here? Or you want to,
The main item I hear right now is whether or not we should approve for council members to go to the immediate the planners conference.
Well,
The other issue I think we've discussed, and we all are pretty much in agreement on.
if
What you want
that's,
to do
you
there.
know, if that's the second one or whatever that Tim would like to go to, that's fine. But there's some more coming up that are
Not in this fiscal
in
year.
the fiscal year.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is fiscal
so-
year, so it ending
Right.
June 30th, so.
So
and
that
then
would
it
still
start
be
over.
within the two, so.
Sure.
And I would just like to say, and looking from a perspective, not just for myself, but just like John alluded to, not having had the opportunity or the background, and also from the other council members' comments, to look at it from that perspective, where our fiscal year is ending in June, where we can reassess how we will establish it from here on out. That one particular institute that we went to in January is something that occurs every other year for new council members and mayors. So with that, I would move that we consider requests by council members to attend the Planners Institute in March.
John, that applies to you too if you want to.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Judy, when is the cutoff date for that? Okay.
Yeah.
John, Tim, get down there right away. Item 10F, review and approve mid-year budget. Maybe we should have had this one before item E.
Yeah, I know.
Here comes Margaret. Margaret? Yeah.
Now, this report's already obsolete. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, the item before you is a review of the expenditures that has occurred since July 1st. The budget is a guide that approves every expenditure that the city makes. And since the budget is adopted, there are several changes which occurs. These changes occur for several reasons. One change occurs because the council approves various projects and purchases since July 1st. This year, those changes amounted to an increase of $506,200. There's also changes which occur due to the increase or decrease of services, and this usually corresponds with revenue. Things such as the issuance of building permits, recreational programs, garbage collections. Also the timing of projects. When the budget's approved, a lot of things aren't really in place and we don't know when the expenditures are going to occur. Changes and increases or decreases in the budget has to be adjusted to accommodate the timing of various projects and purchases as they occur. Transfers and clerical corrections occur. And finally, the unanticipated changes and increases or decreases in expenses. This usually occurs on the departmental level. Those changes and modifications amount to $84,525. In total, the increase in the expenditures that is anticipated prior to year end is $590,725. The increase in anticipated revenue is $342,550. During the process itself, we don't look at small items. We only look at items that usually amount to $1,000 or more. We don't transfer funds from one line item to another where there appears to be a savings, because the budget was approved, and just because it's not being spent at this time, we're not going to say, well, we're going to take this money and cover this expense now. That occurs at the year end. If there's savings in one supply account or a vehicle maintenance account, that could be applied to a deficit in the vehicle operations account. But we don't do that till the end of the year, because these budget items were already approved as is. We don't actually make the transfers right now because a lot of changes occur from January 1st to June 30th. That's done at year end. And so actually no action is required by council other than the fact just to be made aware of where the fiscal state is. The bottom line is that the budget is a guide. The spending should be guided by the total actual expenses, by the total obligations of what is planned to be expended, compared with the total anticipated revenue. And ultimately, council needs to look at the ultimate cash. You have before you the spreadsheets that sorts the expenditures and revenues in various categories to help show where the changes are occurring. And staff will address any questions you may have or go over these charts if you wish.
On this sheet here,
Yes.
but you show it different. Here you show a pool heater, cover repair, and additional maintenance, 30,200. I thought it was 18,000. Here you show it 13, but then there was 5 for repairing the crack.
Just a second on. That's also when you add the increase in electricity in the pool service. The other charges have gone up.
But we're not paying that.
But the pools, we've already spent over $12,000 in the pool service. We're only into December. What was budgeted was only $10,000, so already $2,000 in the hole with a half a year left to go. So with the repairs, which is sheriff's hours, and we always take the higher amount because it's never as low as what the contractors project. Take the higher amount, and with the projected increase of what we spent last year at this time, that it's going to be about $30,000, the cover plus the increased costs of running the pool.
And then the increase in Damari site improvement, that went from 5 to 12?
That was, the 50,000 was already incorporated, but then with initially the asbestos was 5,000. I do believe that went up.
Another 7,000.
Yeah, and that occurred, again, as I said, this is already outdated. I've already had, there's 4
okay.
changes that have come up after this was prepared.
Margaret, on the skateboard park additional costs, was that figured in our budget, or were we actually just using the $40,000 from the Tatarix settlement for that?
Initially, we had $17,000 budgeted, and since then, with the enhancement that was approved by council a month or two ago, that amounted to be over $30,000, so it's 15 more.
Okay, but that still comes out of that
It still
40,000.
follows under the Tatarix settlement amount.
Okay. Any other questions for Margaret? No? Can we have a motion on this?
You don't have anything to say?
Okay, I have something to say, Mark. You just have to have something to say.
Well, now, we'll be here till 8 o'clock now.
No, just under E, where you say the revolving business loan grant, $417,000. The actual loan amount is the $300,000. You're incorporating that back in. You incorporated that back.
That's in. If you look at the revenue projection, the changes in revenue, you'll see an increase of $300,000, and that will be the grant. But the $112,000 is the actual city cost matching, and then I always add about $5,000 that'll be administrative costs, noticing and other things that, in addition.
Okay.
The program, Can You Stump Margaret?
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody do it yet.
Anything else?
Margaret, the savings in the fall festival, what was that?
It's just that the amount that was budgeted
Oh, okay.
was more than what was actually
Was
spent.
that because they paid their own insurance? Is that probably?
No, it's just that we had, based on prior year's expenditures, the overtime for our police officers were less because I believe the chief actually made this a working day for all the officers, so they didn't get overtime like in the past. They had to come on their off day, and that amounted to more. And normally we wouldn't reduce a line item number, except for this one. We know the event is over. There will be no more expenses through June 30th. So by doing that, we're able to offset some of the increases in the council's department's budget.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Motion to approve? You need a motion? Or disapprove?
We didn't need a motion.
We have it agendized that way.
Was that right?
Review and approve the agenda.
No motion.
No motion necessary.
No
Okay,
motion
discuss, okay. I was gonna say, sorry about that. All right, we come to item 10G. Authorize city manager to execute agreement with Precision Inspection for Inyo Avenue project, for construction staking, construction inspection, construction engineering for Inyo Avenue project for a total cost of $25,300.
This is, we're getting ready to start this project. As you know, this is similar to the case with the streetscape project because Precision Inspection prepared the plans and knows them. It was a recommendation of our current city engineer, Gary Davis, that they do all of the administration and inspection. He could have possibly done the construction staking on it, but that wasn't a big issue, and we felt that it's probably just as well to continue and have them finish out this project. So this is required because if they were still our city engineer, this agreement would not be required. They would automatically do that, but because they are not our city engineer, it's necessary that we do an agreement with them to complete the remaining work.
And they have done all the preliminary engineering on this project?
Yes.
then, right?
Yeah, they've done all the work on this project. I move we authorize city manager to execute agreement with Precision Engineering for construction staking, construction inspection, and construction engineering for Inyo Avenue project.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 10H.
I'd like a real short recess.
Okay, 2 minutes. Break time.
Still calling. They're waiting outside.
Are they ready?
Are they ready? Okay, we can change this.
As soon as he gets back, yeah,
Okay.
if they're ready, we don't need to wait till 8 o'clock, do we, Ed? Whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Yeah,
I guess
we
is what
can
they're
put him
saying.
in anywhere. Yeah. Who's guarding the city if he's in here? Question.
Cookies again, yeah.
Cookies and milk? No cookies and milk tonight. No cookies?
If they're, why don't you go ahead and invite them in, Mike, if they're all here?
Yeah. At least that wind's not blowing tonight.
What's that? I don't know, I didn't realize they were out there. Oh, that's,
Now we have to wait for Mike to come back, turn the camera back on again.
if they are ready, we can get them.
Yeah, I'll just...
That last item, that would work better. Okay, by 37.
Could be an assault. Yeah. Could be a
They're too
crime.
low, lowrider chair.
Might have to rest the job.
Does it
So
raise?
feel free.
Probably one of those you spin around and
Yeah.
raise it up.
Oh, don't worry, I don't make it
Too
every
short.
when I don't do it.
I'm just right. I'm just right, somebody else is too tall.
Do you want to come up to be taller?
I think that's the chair that was here to begin with.
Yeah?
When I leaned back and almost went backwards. Go way back.
When I retire, I want this chair.
You can have the
We're gonna put
gavel.
new stuff in there.
This is not a good chair.
You have to find Margaret for that chair.
Margaret can have this chair.
It's probably stamped City of Newman underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
See, all when I was growing up, that's what they called me. Short.
So pick one farther down.
We're ready to turn the camera on, Ernie.
Okay.
I think. I might wait a second here. Let everybody sit down first. We're back again. We're going to go back to item 10C for the time being. This is to issue the oath of office to Police Officer Brett Short.
And Jennifer, could I have you come up, please?
Yeah, notice, let me get it back up here, so everybody can see.
Yeah, we can do that,
everything
sure.
else. Raise your right hand, please.
Oh, good.
And repeat after me. I, Brett Short,
I, Brett Short,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
and without any mental reservation
and without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
His badge will be put on by his wife, Jennifer.
You can get away with taking it.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Brett, while you're here, why don't you introduce your family members that are with us here?
Okay. This is my wife Jennifer. Next in
We saw
line.
her.
Next in line is my cousin Chris. Next to him is my son Michael. And my daughter Michaela sitting on my mother's Jerry, her lap. And over there on the other side is my father Michael.
Welcome. Thank you.
Would you like to say a couple words?
Oh.
Sure.
Remember I told you you had 15 minutes, so.
15 minutes of fame. Just happy to be here, and it's great to be on board. It's really a great honor to be here. I'm happy, and it's just where I want to be. Great.
And that's your partner, right?
That's my partner, Paul Escuro. Hiding out in the corner.
If you'd like to.
Any questions you might have for me?
Where are you from?
Modesto,
Oh, okay. Where'd you graduate?
from Davis in Modesto. I'm all open. You can ask me anything.
How did you happen to come to Newman?
Why Newman?
Yeah.
It's still in the county, and it's a small enough community where you can get to know the people of the community, and instead of being
And you're going to be with
caught
us
up in
a
the rat
minimum,
race.
you're going to be with us a minimum of 20 years, right?
Minimum 20 years? I don't know about that long.
We hope so, anyway.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else have any?
Congratulations.
Okay, then. Congratulations. Thank you very much. we have the cookies and, would you
We are
mind-
prepared for refreshments.
Would you rather do this now, or can you wait another 15, 20 minutes until we're finished with the meeting, or would you rather do it now? It's up to you.
No, we can catch up on.
Are you on duty now, Brett?
I'd like to continue.
Let's do it right now.
Yeah, we'd like to get this man back on the
Let's take a 10-minute break, okay?
Oh, yeah, I gotta respond, oh, yeah.
My fax machine works good. Hey, send our
Yeah.
cameraman in.
Okay, we're back from our little recess. Item 10H, Review Procedures Manual for City Council. Please.
Thank you. I wanted to go through this, as I mentioned to some of you previously, just so that all of the council agrees on this. If there's changes you want to make to it, that's fine too. This was actually approved by the city council, I forget the date, April 99 it looks like. If you have any questions or anything, this is just kind of walk through this. What I did is I went through and marked some areas that I felt were important, or maybe others that you have, but I'll just quickly walk through those. If you have any comments, questions, etc. on those as we go through, that's fine. We can talk about those at that time.
Did we all get a copy of that?
No, actually, you should have had that previously.
I do.
And I just stated on there to bring it if you could, and so we didn't distribute them
Sure,
with the
that's fine.
agenda. Does everyone
I still
have
have one.
I have mine.
their copy with them?
No, I left mine in the
David, I'll
file.
share. How's that?
Okay, that's good.
There's one.
Oh, here's an extra one.
That Judy comes with there.
All right. Okay, first place that I marked, and this is a pretty simple one, but is on page 3. And most of these areas where I've marked, what I've simply done is I marked it as I went through, and I looked at the little notes that are in the column that pretty well explain what the main issue or the main topic is of that paragraph. And the one here that I noted, the council acts as a body, staff is to implement the direction of the council as a majority. I think everyone understands that we can't accept direction from any individual council member or 2 council members. It has to be the council as a whole when they're sitting as a whole, and this is probably not anything new to you, those of you especially that went to the conference in January. This was probably something that was talked about there. The next item I have is on page 6. Just on both of these items, I mean, our staff is there to provide a wide array of services for members of the council. I did want to point out, and I don't know of anything that's been a specific problem in this, but I have seen it come up in certain circumstances. Is about halfway down the first paragraph that says sensitivity to the workload of support staff members in the city manager's office is appreciated. So as you come in and ask for information, etc., just understand that there's other projects that we are working on, and etc. And if it is an urgent thing, we will do everything we can to get that to you as quickly as possible, with the understanding that there are other items that we have that we're working on. In addition, at times in the past, my staff has mentioned to me if the council can be sensitive to the fact that when you come in to meet with staff members, to make sure that you come in to meet with them, discuss the item that you have, and try to move on so that they can continue to work on. Not that they don't enjoy visiting, but they do have work to do also. So discuss the items you have to bring up to them, and if I can say this right, try to save the social aspects for after hours, because I know many of you are friends with other staff, with some of the staff members and things like that. So any comments on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think any council person should direct any staff member, less than a department head or yourself, to have things corrected. I think that should go through department heads or the city manager. Otherwise, how do you know what's going on in the city if it doesn't go through you?
That's correct, and that's brought up at a later item in this book, and that's what I was going to bring up. However, the council members can go. I don't have a problem with you going to an employee such as Emily, for example, in the front office, just to ask a question that might be related to finance. If Margaret weren't there or something, to ask her a question. If it's just an information item, that's fine. But if you're asking for something to be done that requires work or a correction or anything else, technically, those items need to come through the city manager, not even through the department head. As you recall, I've prepared a form that is available for your use, and I'll talk about this right now, even though it comes up a little later in here also. If you will please remember, if you go to a staff member, what I have directed my staff, and that includes all employees, department heads, etc., is if a council member comes to you and asks you to do something, your correct response is, that may be a good idea, but I would request that you, and I've given them the forms also, I request that you take this through the city manager and have him fill out the form. So I would please request, if you want to get upset at someone for giving you that and asking you to do that, get upset at me because I've told the employees to do that. Don't get upset at the employees when they, if they respond in that manner to you as city council members. Because otherwise, it may not get handled in the right way. And again, we as staff are not to respond or to take care of anything unless it is comes through the full council rather than one individual council member. Now, if you see a problem in the community and you want to file a complaint or make a request or whatever, go through the normal procedures at the front counter or at the police department to say, you know, there's a vehicle parked illegally or whatever in front of my house, that's the normal process that any citizen has, and you also have that right. The difference is what you do is you go in and simply make the complaint or the request the way anybody else would. Don't go in and say to the employee, you need to go take care of this immediately. That's where it crosses over from directing them to simply following the normal procedure that any other citizen in the community has the right to do. Okay? Any other questions on that, or okay then?
One thing, it says here, is anybody using this? Voicemail is available to city council members at City Hall.
It is available if you want it. And then when we get calls from citizens, we simply can transfer them to your voicemail box. And each of you have a voicemail box, correct, Judy? If you want to use it, you can access it from your home. However you want to use that, that's available for your use.
Who there helped set up who would meet?
Emily. Emily, I believe, would normally
Well, when
do
they
that,
first
right, Judy?
when they first did it, I tried to call in, and I kept getting City Hall, and I wanted my voicemail, and they couldn't tell me how to get to the voicemail.
Well, they can now, if you want to set that up.
Okay, well, that's why I quit using it.
Come in and talk to Emily, and we can set it up for you, because that shouldn't be a problem.
I've actually set mine up and it works appropriately.
So, yeah, that is available if you'd like. I made a mark on the financial matters. I don't think there's anything major that I have there. I think we discussed some of that tonight, a need to, the reason the item was brought up on the attendance of the Planning Commissioners Institute is simply to, you know, it's something that I've noticed that maybe we need to work on a little bit more, not referring to council, but as a city, to try to do a better job of budgeting and work towards staying within that budget for the fiscal year. It appears to me, as I reviewed this year's mid-year budget, that there may be some items that we're getting a little lax on and allowing those to go through at mid-year. And part of it may be doing a better job of budgeting at the beginning of the year. The other part may be that just a matter of staying a little bit firm and saying, no, we need to wait until the end of the year to look at doing this item. Some things can't wait. You have to do them immediately. But there may be some that we need to look at. So that's the only reason I marked that page. The next page under communications, I marked this one because this issue came up a little bit with Councilmember Parker just recently on the use of city letterhead. And my interpretation, just so everyone understands, on page 8 is the first bullet statement about halfway down the page. It says council members shall not write and or send letters on city stationery without council concurrence. My interpretation is of that a council member needs to bring up at a city council meeting, state, I would like to write a letter to this person on city letterhead regarding this subject. And if the entire council approves that, I don't have a problem with that happening.
It's funny that you mentioned that so emphatically, because I know for certain at the time that we met, and it was a special meeting that we had, and I brought this issue up, I put it in those certain terms because I alluded to this communication that was in this policy as well. And I understand where this policy comes from. In previous administrations and past history, there may have been where this wasn't communicated correctly. And so I just wanted to allude to the time that I thought it may have been necessitating me addressing a letter and found out that it didn't, that it was brought to the attention of the entire council under this policy. And I would be one to firmly continue to adhere to this.
Okay, thank you. Again, the other thing is that normally if you're writing those letters, as it states in the column over here, letters from members of the city council must reflect the position of the council as a whole. And then also down below, letters sent after a position has been adopted should reflect that position or be sent as a private citizen. So in other words, if you disagree or you voted no on a topic, as it states in here, you can state that. You said, I voted no on a topic. However, the council has voted to proceed in this manner with this action, and that is the manner in which we are proceeding.
Can you sign your name as Tom Applegate, City Council member?
Yes.
Okay. Sure can.
Yeah.
That's what you.
Okay.
Well, you had mentioned as a private individual, so.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't sign mine that way.
I wouldn't either.
I'd sign it Paul Martin.
I might say.
I was going to say that, Bob. I thought, well. Sorry, Tom.
On page 11, conflict of interest. If you have a question about a conflict of interest issue, you can contact the city attorney directly, or you can go through me if you want to, but you're welcome to contact the city attorney directly. Down at the bottom of the page, it says, advice provided to members of the council or commissions regarding potential conflicts of interest are public information and should be circulated to all members of the city council. There may be times, like I say, that you deal directly with the city attorney on an item, and he provides an opinion on a particular conflict of interest. You should, when you get that opinion back, inform the entire council of that you went to the city attorney and whatever that opinion is that you receive back from them. So.
And if I could just
Sure, please.
say that if one of you asked me for advice on any issue, the standard practice is to write it to you and CC everybody else.
Just so you're not surprised if you find out that somebody else knows the same thing that you knew. That's why, because that's the practice that will be followed. So, page 13 is the next thing that I had marked, and this is the area where I was going to discuss what we already discussed as far as council dealing with other staff members, and I think we've already covered that unless anyone has any question regarding that. Page 15, just a quick one that I wanted to, hopefully you already understand this, but to know, in the column on the bottom it states draft documents are not generally available for review. There's a good purpose for that. Staff may be reviewing, preparing a draft of a document. It recently came up possibly regarding the capital facility fee study, which we had begun some work on, and staff actually had a draft document that was being put together. However, for various reasons of negotiations or whatever, those documents are not distributed to the council at that point, because once we distribute it to the council, it becomes public information and everyone has access to that. So if you ask staff or myself, anyone, for a document that is still in draft form, and they state to you that they can't give it to you yet, because if I give it to one council member, I have to give it to all of you. Once I give it to all of you, it's a public document and anyone has access to it, and it may not be appropriate for it to go out to the general public at that time.
Yeah, I'd like to go back on the conflicts of interest. And when something comes up and we say there's a conflict of interest, I can't talk about this subject, are we going to remain sitting up here, or should we go out in the audience?
I had that as one of the discussion items here at the end. I've seen it done both ways.
Yeah, it's your
It's your
call.
Well, in
preference.
Sacramento, they said that you shouldn't be up there because you can influence other people by your facial expressions and that kind of stuff.
Left
You know,
Indian?
like John said something, I go,
But if you're in the audience, if you're in the audience, we can stare at it.
Yeah, I say it's even worse,
I know that some boards, councils, commissions do that. They actually have them step down while the item is discussed and then return. But I don't think, I've never heard anything that that's actually required. It's more of a preference of the council, so it would,
Well,
it may be a good idea though for you to, decide as a council which way you would like to do it and be consistent for all council members. But that's up to
I
you.
think in the past, the person hasn't had to step down. I think it's just
They
remained.
haven't.
I think it's happened with, I think it might have happened with the mayor once,
Mhm.
Jim. But, so I don't know, it's up to the council.
Yeah.
They put up
Tom,
their
you can just
pleasure.
turn your chair around and face the wall. Lean back, take a break.
well, I brought it up because this is something they brought up in Sacramento with the new council members and the mayor.
And like I said, it's optional either way. It doesn't,
And each
I can
council
see-
member could do it differently.
Yeah, if you want to just leave it open to the council member and allow them to do it the way they want to,
Sounds good to
that's
me.
fine too. If you're more comfortable stepping down off the podium, that's fine. Or you can simply sit back and turn your microphone off, and turn around and watch television, whatever.
Does anybody have any particular thoughts on that, or what they'd rather do, or leave everyone to their own thoughts?
Just leaning back and taking it easy is fine with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same here.
yeah.
Anybody have any objections to that? Okay. Let's
Page,
go with that then.
My next item is on page 16, and that's under staff roles, and that, it must be an important item, because it's reiterated several times. That's the same issue as far as staff dealing with city council. On page 17, I highlighted in the column that states, requests which require significant staff time should be approved by the full city council. So if you come to me and ask me to research a certain issue, and in my mind that's going to take it's subjective of course, but a great amount of staff time, I may state to you that I feel it would be appropriate to take back to the city council before we do that and have the council approve that research because of the amount of time that it's taking staff load. Okay. Last item I marked is on page 21, and hopefully that one is not really an issue, but that involves closed sessions, and anything that is discussed in closed session should not be discussed in public with anyone. So, those are the items that I highlighted in the book, in the manual. There were a couple of other items that I wanted to bring up. One of them Tom already brought up, which was the stepping down during a conflict of interest. Tom also brought to my attention the issue of possibly changing our agenda, and we can probably handle this on an administrative manner, just to state that within agenda items, perhaps add a statement that states that the right of the public to discuss an item which is on the consent calendar, so that they understand that if it's on the consent calendar, they can ask at that time for it to be polled so that it can be discussed rather than just approved all at once. So we can work on some wording if the council would like us to add into there to handle that portion. Technically, anything on the agenda is open for discussion.
I think probably be a good idea because occasionally there are some things on there that are questionable.
Well, I gave you
People don't
some
know
wording
what's going on,
from
so.
the board on one that showed, I think I
Yeah.
gave this afternoon.
We can revise that wording. I'm thinking under items from the public to add that any member of the public who wishes to have an item pulled from the consent calendar may do so at this time or when the consent calendar is brought up on the agenda. Something to that effect.
Do these things, the items from the public and items from public agenda and non-agenda items, do they have to be read verbatim, or as long as you get the message across.
Yeah, I understand that it's recommended that it is.
Okay,
Especially on the non-agenda.
okay.
Yeah, the non-agenda items especially is the critical one, so.
I think it's a good idea because there are people that come in out there that might not know that they can talk about stuff.
Well, I
that's
know,
on the
but
agenda.
you could, use other wording and just,
Oh, yeah.
as long as you get the message across the same way, rather than read it verbatim. It's the same way with all these, other, things that we have with the whereases and the where-ifs and the where-was and all this. It's, more confusing to people, I think, than...
Okay. The last item that I guess kind of pertains to this that I wanted to bring up involves distribution of the agendas. I don't know that with this particular council that we've had a problem. Our former mayor, we did have a problem on a couple occasions. It involves if we go to distribute an agenda at your house to deliver it and no one's home, what do we do? My preference and what I've been accustomed to with other cities, I think, is that the council members actually know by a certain time on a certain day that the agenda is available and they will actually come in and pick it up themselves.
I pick mine up every Friday.
Now, I don't know that may not be possible for everybody. I'm suggesting that. I know many of you work, whether you pick it up or arrange to have someone pick it up on that day. But I wanted to just bring that up for discussion, see what the council's preference is on that, and what, if you're okay with the way it's going, we can continue with that. I just know at times there's been some questions arise around that.
Well, I'd have to state that the delivery system that I've been afforded for the last almost nearly 5 years, I've never missed a meeting or never was remiss in receiving any of the mail. As far as a time applicable for me to be able to pick it up down at City Hall, that would not work with me, simply because my dedication and commitment has been to be here for the meetings, to be here for the special meetings, and when a day off allows during a weekday, to come in and meet and confer with you and staff regarding any questions I might have. So the mail delivery way that I've gotten it either in the mail or I find a package at my door, I haven't had any problems receiving it.
I think I'd like mine stay at City Hall, pick it up. Mine got a little wet again the other day.
Yeah, I continue to pick mine
The
up.
way my house is, it's kind of hard to clean
And
up. It's kinda hard to-
John's was one of the, I made the mistake on one of them, John, I apologize to him, I was supposed to keep his while he was on vacation, and we delivered it, and he
That one really
he
got
had to
wet
run
that
it
time.
through the ringer a few times to dry it out, but that's the main thing, is just to get council's preference.
I've had it a couple of times. Mine has actually gone back for postage.
When it was hand-delivered.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, it was put in the mailbox. When it's put in the mailbox, the mailman comes by and he takes it back to the city.
Oh, gosh.
Well, you also have, your doorway isn't covered, is it?
No, it's not covered. So I think they've done a pretty good job. It's hard to do.
Yeah, that's,
They've done a good job.
yeah, the main issue has been at times when, lots of times who we have deliver it is our police department. We have them go deliver it, because lots of times they can do it after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
I don't think
7 o'clock.
they like that.
They don't exactly,
No, they
they
don't.
don't really like doing it.
And it isn't that
That's
reliable.
one thing.
Sometimes it gets there Friday,
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah,
Saturday.
Yeah, I've gotten mine as late as Sunday and Monday.
Yeah,
And
I-
that's why I pick mine up all the time now.
I guess the other thing I would ask then, David and Tom and John are saying they'd like to pick theirs up. Is that correct? David, do you want to pick yours up, or do you want yours
Yeah,
delivered?
sure, I'll get mine.
Okay. Tim, if we leave yours, I know you have a screen door on
Yeah,
the front of your house. If we leave that
delivery
in there,
system has worked for me.
that works fine for you.
Because the fact is that in most instances, it's on Friday.
Sure.
And that precludes me to have the availability or the opportunity to be able to pick it up. Fridays are my actually worst days.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. And Bob, you want us to
I
try and
think-
continue the way
yeah,
we're
I
doing?
think
Is
so.
that-
I think if it's delivered on Friday,
Just don't put it in the mailbox.
And not put it in the mailbox.
Do you have a screen door on the front
Yes,
of your
I do.
house? So if we put it in there, is that
and that's
work?
normally where they put it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, It's working, I mean.
Okay. And that's fine, just so we understand, all have the same understanding of how we're doing that. We'll deliver Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Parker's, and if they're not home, we'll leave it in their screen door. For the rest of you, our commitment is that the agenda will be ready by noon on Friday. Normally that's the case. Once in a while we run into a problem with an agenda item, but normally it will be ready by noon on Friday.
And if one of us is going to be out of town or something at that time, we'll have to get in touch with you.
Get in touch with us and let us know what you would like us to do with your agenda, whether it be to deliver it and leave it in the front door or whatever, if you're going to be out of town and not able to pick it up. So, okay, that's all I have under that item, unless there's other questions.
Good information.
Okay, item 11, items from city managers. Everything else left, please?
I think I've talked enough tonight. I'm still working on, I know there's two items that council has requested and I had committed to that I haven't got into the habit and got worked out yet. One is to provide you with either a weekly or bi-weekly summary of projects, either on this. What I plan on doing, what I want to try and do is provide a written summary that I'll place in your boxes over at City Hall, either on a week, probably on a bi-weekly basis. And then the other item is, Councilmember Applegate had brought it up, would like me to arrange with the Madison newspapers to write an article, I guess, for the paper once a month or something like that. And I haven't, I've talked to Madison newspapers a little bit about it, but I haven't arranged and got that started, so.
Know about the project.
Yeah.
You could probably email it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal to get, it's just a matter of getting it done.
Pretty good idea. Where do we stand on streetscape?
Streetscape is out to bid. There's, the bids come in on March 7th. And the storm drain portion is also out to bid. They come in on March 13th. So that's keep your fingers crossed till then, and that's when we'll know.
And we will review the streetscape bids on March 13th then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, should be able to, yeah. And then depending on what happens, I may recommend that we call a special meeting for review of the storm drain bids, because we do need to move on those quickly. We talked about that, right, you just reminded me of one more item. We talked about the storm drain and the streetscape could probably start about the same time. In talking to our engineering staff, they're estimating, assuming everything goes well, 2 to 3 weeks is all it will take for the storm drain project. And so demolition could begin on the streetscape project about the same time, so it shouldn't be a big issue. The other thing, you heard me mention earlier that Commissioner Larry Gilbert resigned from the Planning Commission. We received that letter from him last week. I was talking to Judy, and we were recommending, I heard from a couple of council members that they didn't particularly like the process this last time. They would like to do it not on camera especially, and perhaps hold it over at the library like we did previously to interview.
It's a more intimate
commissioners.
place, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, it
A little
doesn't,
more comfortable.
yeah, and it makes the applicants more comfortable, I
Right.
believe.
So I was looking at the calendar and looking at possibly doing that on March 20th, which would be the Tuesday in between our two council meetings in March. That's a night that the library is open, so hopefully we would be able to reserve that room. And we could, we'll advertise immediately and have applications received prior to that date. Is that acceptable to all the council?
We're going to put a notice again,
Yeah.
advertise.
Yeah, we'll do
This
that.
will be a little longer, I think 2-week notice rather than the 1 week.
Yeah, we've got, I mean, that's a little over a month away, so
Yeah.
should give us time to. Yeah, we usually do it for a couple of,
Well, I think the last time we were a little rushed on it. or
yeah, we
something.
rushed it a little bit last time, yeah. But normally under circumstances we do, so.
We rushed it because of that special meeting, didn't we? Is that why
Yeah,
we
we were
rushed
trying
Yeah,
to do
we wanted to have,
something,
wanted to have someone there for that, yeah.
yeah.
I will be absent that evening, however, I'm certain it sounds as if we'll have a quorum of council members, so that wouldn't preclude it from taking place on that day.
Well, that was my
20th.
suggestion. If you want to move it to a different date, we can
we can look at that.
Well, I don't think it necessitates it. If you're gonna
Okay.
have the 4 council members, I don't have a problem with being absent. And then hopefully we'll draw some continued interest.
Okay,
Anything else, Clea?
that's all.
Okay. Items for, item number 12, items from city council members. Tim, you want to start this?
Oh, I was just gonna mention the town hall meeting that I attended last night in regards to the high-speed rail authority. Basically, to surmise what took place yesterday evening. It was very informal. There was a lot of input from a number of persons in the community, particularly in the Modesto area, Turlock. Just to give you a brief overview, high-speed rail from Sacramento to San Diego, trains traveling roughly 200 miles an hour. They disseminated roughly about 6 stops along that way, and none of those stops would really appear to serve our community. And so that's the gist of it. They're looking to go from the Pacheco Pass rather than the Altamont Pass as one of their how they would transcend over to the Bay Area. But for the most part, for us along the Highway 5 area, it just wouldn't be accessible. And one of the other things that they spoke of greatly was the fact that how would this interface with local commuters. And in addition to the high-speed rail being used by the major urban centers, they also thought of it as being able to be an additional interstate travel versus planes. In other words, it can get you from one end of the state to the other, Sacramento, our capital, down to San Diego within a 3.5-hour period, where they would be able to compete with air travel. So I have this packet, and I think most of you have already looked at it.
Tim, did they mention, is there anything proposed perhaps to be a stop in like Los Banos?
Yes, Los Banos and then Merced.
Okay.
Excuse me, Los Banos and then Modesto. Los Banos would probably be our nearest stop.
Right.
But one of the questions brought up was, if you wanted to go to the East Bay area, why would you travel south in order to connect with a train, or travel north to Modesto to connect with a train, and it's going to bring you back to the Pacheco Pass? It just really didn't make sense for our usage in this particular vicinity.
So we're talking 25 minutes to get to the nearest.
To get to the nearest station. And I mean, these informal town hall meetings that they're having, they're going around to gather the information. The one thing that was brought up was, I don't know if you guys have heard, but the startup cost, this is a new rail that they're talking about. They're not talking about making it off of the existing railway. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $28 to $33 billion. So it was real informative. They at some point probably will address the local government, but this is kind of just an easement into what's taking place.
And I believe they'll have it to a point where it'll be presented to the governor and the commissions in 2003, I believe, and then 15 years or so down the road to build it.
Basically, the time projection for this is like into the future. 15 to 20 years is when this would be accessible.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I'm not gonna buy a ticket.
Okay. Anything else, Tim? Do you have
No, that was
Okay,
it. Thank you.
Tom?
I just, to Cleve, skateboard park. I've noticed more and more now of the police stopping and chasing the kids out of the fire department place, out of City Hall, out of, is there anything else?
Light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
I'm still working on that issue. I talked to one more company as far as being able to kind of preview that prior to going with one of those companies. I've talked to 2 companies, but I've still only found the one that actually does the still surfacing on all of their structures. The other one does it on some of their structures, but not all of them, like the larger quarter pipes and half pipes they don't do it on. I did make a little bit of progress the other day in talking to a company that may be moving to Newman that may be willing to donate the concrete pad site, and so I'm working on that a little bit, which is progress. So, and I've learned of another possibility of someone that might be willing to do that also. So,
We're still shooting for spring, April, May?
I mean, once we decide to do it, we can move pretty quickly with it. So, yeah, I still think that, this spring, spring, early summer anyway, we should be able to have it done. It's just a matter of pulling the string.
What about going back to see this one in, was it Oklahoma or Missouri or something?
I've been looking at that. The problem is I wanted to go back there, but in going back there, I wanted to be able to talk to some skaters and ask them, what they thought of that surface compared to concrete and the wood and et cetera. When I called back to talk to the gentleman about doing that, he said, well, we've got a couple inches of snow on the ground right now, so there's not too many skaters out. So I had worked with him. I was hoping maybe they may get some good weather, and he's going to contact me as soon as that happens and see if we can arrange a time to still consider going out and looking at that.
Did this one company give you a time frame of once we decided on this, how long it would take them to actually manufacture?
I haven't obtained that from them yet, but I can do that.
Cleve, I'm surprised that some of these companies haven't created videos to show off their wares as far as what they've done. I mean,
they do have some scenes that show them that I've looked at on the website.
okay.
I've seen some of that, but it's difficult. And I have done reference checks on the company. I've called cities where they've installed these and talked to other city managers, parks and recreation directors, etc. And they got very high compliments. I did talk to one person who his statement was that he felt the steel was a little bit noisier than the wood, and that's an issue that has been raised a little bit, that it may very well be. But other than that, they were all very complimentary of this and said, yeah, the steel is the way to go. Is what they told me. Yeah, they said, I mean, you put it in and it's there, other than maintaining it as far as painting it or whatever you may want to do that way. But other than that, they said it's going to last you.
Well, if we get a chance, why don't you see about what the time frame would be, so we know what we're doing and get going and get this thing done.
Okay.
And anything else, John?
That's all I have.
Okay. Bob?
I have nothing.
John?
I just, on this fire hydrant issue, I just like to keep in mind, everybody that's involved and all of us, the reason why fire hydrants are there. And, if my house is on fire, I sure want that truck to be able to pull up in front and hook up and extinguish my house. I just think we should keep that in mind.
I agree with you.
Well, but having said that, John, the thing of it is, the no parking is right by the hydrant. Has nothing to do with in front of your house. So what I'm saying, if that hydrant is not directly in your house,
Right, but
people can park all along that area, and there's no restriction as long as they're not across the driveway.
But what I'm saying is we need to keep those
hydrants open.
the hydrants open so the truck can pull right up in front of it like it's
pull the
supposed
hoses.
to and hook the hoses up to
Pull
it.
those hoses without hitting the vehicle.
Well,
Exactly.
I think probably Mel Souza is probably the best one to say how much space he needs, because,
Yeah, well, I'd like to see him here tonight, so that we
yeah, because,
I will make sure that
put
he's
this
here.
to sleep.
we're just guessing. We're not experts in that area, and he's the one that has to,
But I think
But he wrote a
consistency
letter.
is the big thing.
I'm sorry.
But he wrote a letter stating.
Yeah, but it would be nice to have him here to ask
Yeah.
questions.
As long as we're consistent, I think that'll be all right. Decide what's gonna be and make
Well,
it
maybe
right.
it's hard to be consistent when you have a town, when it was laid out, everything is not uniform.
Well, that's
When
true, yeah.
You're dealing with different issues and all.
But
different
I
parts of
think the
town.
thing is to make sure that in the newer subdivisions doesn't happen again,
Amen.
so. Okay, anything else, John?
That's it.
Okay. The only thing I have is, I spent all day Friday at a SCEDCO and WIB meeting. I hate these acronyms. The Stanislaus County Economic Development Corporation is contemplating merging with the Workforce Investment Board. The Economic Development Commission basically tries to get retain jobs, get more companies to locate in the Stanislaus County area. The Workforce Investment Board is basically a training organization, but they do conflict in some of their things that they do, they overlap. And basically what they want to do is merge the boards, which are considerable size each. I know Skedco has 20-something, maybe 30 people on it. And Workforce Investment Board's the same way. Now, each of the 9 cities in the county has a delegate to that, which gives us 9 votes out of the 20-something, which, if they changed it, we'd end up with 9 votes out of 40, 50, 60, whatever there are on the thing. So it would dilute it. And anyway, nothing ever came of this. They decided to go back and take all the information that they learned at this meeting and have another meeting, which is, is something else too. But they, all 9 cities have to agree, in the county, have to agree on this merger before it'll happen. And frankly, until I see more information on, how the board's going to be made up and what it would do to diluting the west side, I don't think that we should go for it, but we'll find out at the next meeting, whatever happens there. So that was all I have. So, nothing else? Could we have a motion for adjournment?
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
I'm good at that.